We won't get started, but we'll start moving towards a meeting. Prior to starting every commissioners meeting, we always invite local clergy to come in and pray for us. This
There he
morning
is.
is no different. David Tennant is here. He's been here many times. Thank you so much for always coming here, and the podium is yours.
I learned as a teacher for many years, it's hard to compete with animals and kids, so I'm glad I'm going first. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this day. In the book of John, your son mentioned that he was the light of the world, and in Matthew that we are the light of the world, which reminds me of lights at Christmas. We're only called to shine, and families, I'm sure, still drive around neighborhoods to see the display of lights. We're only called, again, to shine, and our personality and you in us will cause the intensity, the color, the movements, whatever it is. And yet how dramatic it is at night when times are dark. And again, we do live in dark times, and we are to shine throughout the day. But how significant those lights are, Christmas lights, when it's dark, and again, for us in these times. So in this day and in this place, Father, may our light shine. The decisions that are made, grant them wisdom and clarity, and grant all of us as we go through our day to continue to shine, and particularly in a dark world. Amen.
Amen. And now to officially start our meeting today, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Batchelor.
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Clermont County Board of Commissioners meeting for 12/11/2024. We will start right as our items are listed on the agenda. Item number B is approval of regular session minutes of 12/2/24. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second that. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
We're going to move up new employee introductions. I understand we have some new employees here that their directors would like to introduce. We will start with Clermont County Kennel and Angie Lovesay.
Good morning.
Morning.
Excited to introduce three of our new staff members. I'll start with Mr. Alex Price. He's actually not that new, but we've missed his employee introduction because he gets pretty busy in the kennel. So we're finally getting to introduce Alex. Alex attended College for Wildlife Management. He has 4 years experience with wildlife, performing many different management plans involving animals. He's worked with big and small animals. He's brought his experience to the shelter to help the animals that are there. He's enjoying his time at the shelter. He likes assisting with fosters and adoptions and being there for the dogs and making sure that we're taking good care of them.
Thanks, Alex.
Next, we have Darlene Williams. Darlene and Sarah are new. They're very new. Darlene has over 16 years of experience in animal rescue. She's had some extensive training to become a knowledgeable and effective advocate for the dogs. She's worked with several rescues. And I love this story. She helped save a life of a deaf dog in Louisiana because she also knows sign language, which isn't that fascinating.
Nice.
So, her years of hands-on experience in shelters and her commitment to helping our dogs and humans and canines make her eager to contribute her expertise to our shelter.
Very nice.
Next, we have Sarah Davidson. Sarah is a huge animal lover. You'll appreciate this. She's a lover of horses specifically, as well as dogs. She's worked with both horses and dogs. She's an advocate to help improve the overall well-being of any animals that she's working with. She is excited to be at the shelter, and we're excited to have her.
Angie,
And most
Bring-
importantly,
bring the baby out
Yeah,
in
most
front. Let's
importantly,
get her on the
we have
camera.
Bree. Yes.
Maybe somebody out there watching.
Yeah, absolutely.
This would make a beautiful
Most
Christmas
important introduction
present.
is our
Hi, Bree.
here.
Hi, Bree.
Yeah.
Hi, baby.
She's pretty new. She is available for adoption right now. So we're open at noon today. We love it. If somebody wants to come adopt Bree.
She already found the home,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Congratulations,
That's
Kevin.
There you go, you're it.
Call me. We'll figure out the paperwork. Yeah.
And so make sure you stick around. We've got some more introductions for new employees, but obviously we want to take a picture with all of you.
She
So
is the most unique coloring I have
Yeah.
ever seen on a dog.
and,
She's like a pocket pit bull.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
And thanks for joining the team at the kennel. Thank you. Next up is Community and Economic Development, Bruce Crace, to introduce one new employee he is. Morning, Bruce.
Good morning.
Hi, it's my pleasure to introduce Morgan Miller.
Hi.
She's a lifelong resident of Clermont County and currently resides in Batavia on her small family farm, where they have horses and their 3 dogs, Dixie, Maggie, and Molly. In her former years, she participated in 4-H and FFA while attending Wilmington College, where she obtained her degree in agricultural education. Congratulations. Morgan is a part of numerous organizations, including Clermont County Carteens, the Clermont County Junior Fair Board, and the Clermont County Meat Goat Association, the 4-H Advisory Committee, and more. She is very excited to be a part of this great team and can't wait to see what is in store for the future. Welcome aboard.
Welcome, Morgan.
Thanks.
Great. Glad you're here.
Thanks for picking Clermont County. Next up is the Office of Management and Budget, Emily Akers. Morning.
Morning.
Very excited to introduce Jamie Tanner. She is my new assistant director, so everyone will be getting to know her very well. She comes from juvenile court, actually, at Clermont County. She was there for 16 years in the fiscal department. It was her first, she calls it her first big girl job straight from college. She's been with the county her entire career and
Great.
plans on staying. She is married. Her and her husband love to travel, outdoors, ventures, and she's a resident of Milford, Ohio.
Very nice.
Jamie,
Welcome,
thanks.
Jamie.
Thanks for joining the team. And by the way, juvenile court, that was still a big girl job, no doubt about it. So if all the new employees would like to come up and get a picture, we'll stay back here and you guys can just kind of make a U right there. Whoever wants to be in the middle, pick it.
Oh, I love that dog. Look at that dog. Coloring him is beautiful. Smile pretty, Bree. Get you a new home.
There it is.
Oh,
E-
There, I'm gonna have you.
Even though she's little, she's still stout. You can tell.
Over here, and then we'll scoot everyone down. Yeah.
look at the camera, Bree.
Yeah, what? That way? Okay, yeah, we'll still hold. Good, good.
And we'll go in 3, 2, 1. Stand by. We'll go 3, 2.
Great, thank
She
you.
looked straight at the camera.
She did.
Took a great picture. Thanks for all the new employees.
Thanks for bringing the puppy.
Next on the agenda is a presentation by Emily Akers. Emily's the Director of Office of Management and Budget here at the BCC, and she's going to go over the 2025 annual appropriations final. At the end of it, board, she is going to go over some items that can be considered and added to this particular proposal. And then she is going to exit our meeting and prepare that for later in the meeting to approve. That get it pretty close?
That is spot on.
So I just want to make sure that's what the purpose is and that's what you're up against. So thanks, Emily. Go ahead.
So right now, we're just going to do one last review of the draft appropriation. We haven't made really many changes. Is it working? Is it on? there's only a couple slides, so. Go ahead. We really haven't made many changes. There has been some though, and that's due, I'll just go over really quickly. This was the draft appropriation as it stands right now, the entire county budget. The biggest change on here from when I presented on December 2nd, the enterprise funds, we had a reduction in appropriation of $6.5 million. After talking with the Water Resource Department, they'd accidentally duplicated some of their capital expenses that are already under contract. They were appropriating for them again by mistake. So we pulled that out of the budget. So it reduced our appropriation by $6.5 million. And there was a couple other little changes when we were looking at year-end balances, but nothing major to even note. So this is where we stand as of right now. Then I'm just going to focus back on the general fund again. Here is where we are at, looking at 83.8, almost $83.9 million in operating expenses from the general fund. There was just a slight change on this as an update from our last presentation, and that was just due to some salary actions that were approved that were accidentally given to a whole department instead of just specific employees. So that has been fixed and adjusted. And that was just a $37,000 difference is the only change in the general fund. I wanted to show you, this is the revenue and the revenue estimate and the proposed appropriation is leaving right now a growth in operating on the general fund of $1.9 million. So that is, what is available to work with to balance the budget for salary actions and any other items that the board would like to add to this draft agenda.
Just 1 second for those who are in attendance. These are the two numbers that are always looked at for when government agencies say that they approve a balanced budget. So a balanced budget means is that your expenses don't exceed your revenue. Okay. And so in Clermont County, almost every year, we do not exceed that revenue. If you were to exceed your revenue and expenditures, then the auditor of state flags that as a red category on your audit report. So those are things that we don't do. So when you hear on television, when they say that the government, someone who's going to run for an elected official says, I will assure you we'll always have a balanced budget. Government entities always have a balanced budget because you can't turn a budget in that's not balanced in the state of Ohio. They do not accept that. So you always have to, now you can exceed your revenues if you want to reach into savings, but you have to put that in the budget. Just for a clarification.
The non-operating part shows a draw right now on the general fund. And the non-operating, a lot of that will include transfers. So we still have to budget for a transfer of money. And so it looks like an expense, but it's moving to somewhere else.
Correct.
So with our estimated year-end fund balance of $47.8 million, we keep a reserve balance of 35% of our operating expenses. So that leaves 2025 with an unrestricted fund balance of $18.4 million. Again, this does not include the salary action yet, any other items that are going to be added to this appropriation, as well as future capital support. So the fun part, now we are getting to the items that have not been funded. Again, the salary actions, $323,000 is every 1% for general fund only. And then we have these other items that have been requested that are not included. Now I'll run through these. They haven't changed, but we have the BCC program administrator position requested. Department of Public Safety is requesting its own administrative staff. Facilities, they are requesting they're requesting 3 maintenance staffs to help maintain the facilities and grounds on all 3 of our campuses. Municipal clerk had some annualized salaries that exceeded the 2024 budget. The prosecutor is requesting a civil attorney. There's some additional overtime for the sheriff's office, road patrol, and court services. The school resource officers, the SROs, and the township funding at 50%, and then various salary actions that were pulled out of the budget. And then the non-staff related items were just some miscellaneous expenses through the Board of Elections, Common Pleas Clerk. We had juvenile court detention, probation altogether requesting some additional purchase service funds. The municipal clerk is looking for some postage funding. Prosecutor had some slight additional expenses, sheriff, fuel and maintenance. And then Soil and Water Conservation District is requesting an additional $45,000 general fund contribution. And then outside the general fund, we still had the capital request. We have the facility master plan pending, but there is the issue between the domestic relations and probate renovation, and what to do with that. So, Dave, would you go back one slide? If the board would give me direction on the salary actions and anything else, if you want included into the budget, I will go back, add those things, and then I'll update just the slide showing the total appropriation. I will present that again at the end of session today and then adopt if we are ready.
So the first thing we'd like to discuss is, I think you have a listing there of all the salary actions and what their corresponding cost is. And that'll be for obviously our employees throughout. Any suggestions there, or would you like to make a motion as to what the salary actions should be for this year? Is that
Talking total,
I think you
No
just do a
percentage.
recommendation.
you do recommendation.
recommendations?
No motions.
Also,
Yeah.
commissioners, keep in mind that we always specify what part of that is merit-based.
Mhm.
So in the past, we did a 3% merit base. So if you break that down, we'll need to know what part of that percentage you want as merit. And those are tied to evaluations
Mhm.
in the BCC.
Right. Last year we did, was it 3% on the merit last year also?
3% merit and 2% across the board.
Okay. So we're going to start with, I guess, salary. Is that what we're starting with
Mhm.
at this point? Okay. I'll make a recommendation. I'd like to see a 4.25 with the 3%. I mean, break it down the same way that we did the last time on merit.
So
based on
3%
it.
merit and
Merit.
order
Yes.
across the board.
Yes.
Any other consideration?
Would it make it easier if it was the 4% instead of that?
The percentage makes no difference to me.
Okay,
Well, and you don't have to make that merit based. You can make it a 4% across the board, or you could do 2 and 2, or however you want it. What's been discussed is the 4.25.
Yes.
3% merit.
Yeah, when you look at the merit and across the board, when it comes to appropriations, whatever the total percentage is will be added to the budget. And then the merit part is for the BCC departments with the evaluation. So
Right.
the merit part is relevant in the future, but it doesn't make a difference when it comes to the budget side.
Okay.
I just think that the merit part is that, I think that's fair to everyone. Somebody who's really, doing their job, but then just to hand it to everybody. There's no drive to say, I'll do a better job, or I'm going to, show up for work, whatever. That's up to each manager who understands how their employees are operating.
I can
And
agree with that part.
Okay.
Okay, and the other thing is you look at what some of the other counties are doing, it's nothing. A lot of them are not even giving anything at all. And we've been really, I think we've done very well, we had 5% last year, Tom, is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And we tried,
Last 2 years.
so we're pretty high compared to what other counties are doing at this point. So,
And commissioners, we also covered the employee contribution to healthcare as well this year.
yes, that's right. That's right. That was a big one.
$100 general fund.
Exactly.
So I think you've heard the recommendation of the board. Recommendation of the board is 4.25, 3% salary action, and then merit.
I like the merit because, like Commissioner Corcoran said, it gives someone something to work with.
Mhm.
Great.
Okay. Next one on the list is consider, and what I would say is just go down this list. Do you have any recommendations for some of these other things? We don't have to take them one at a time. You can,
Just list them.
yeah,
Say
you
what
can
we
just
want.
say, hey,
Okay.
I think I want to do this.
Well, can I start? I'm
Absolutely.
ready for you. Okay.
Go.
BCC administrator, yes.
Okay.
Facilities and additional maintenance staff, I would take that to 2 employees, not 3. Yes, on the prosecutor, civil attorney.
I clearly understand that one. Sheriff, road patrol and services, additional overtime. Yes. Then next page, I'll take you to the juvenile court detention probation. That includes the cost for psychiatrists, which has excelled in the courts, really need that. I would say yes on that one. And then municipal clerk additional postage, because we all know that's gone up. And I think that's it for me. Anybody? Okay.
Do we know what the prosecutor's additional expenses are? What do you,
It was,
Yeah. It was for that salary. Oh,
no, the prosecutors, it was
Oh, the
$17,000 of, last year in for 24, they had an extended budget due to the amount of capital cases that were pending.
yeah.
However, so that number has been backed out and they were just requesting an additional increase.
Was that 17,122,
Mhm.
whatever that was? Okay. All right. All right.
Bonnie, anything on there you don't like or anything on there that you want to add other than those?
Lyle, you're here. Soil and water contribution, is that you?
John McManus.
John
Oh, that's
McManus.
right, that's right.
They
I
don't
was
they
trying to
have
give you
carryover
something,
money?
Lyle.
They do,
They-
they do have a cash balance right now.
Yeah,
They're okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
So we already do funding for school resource officer, right?
Yeah, so how that, several years ago, the townships pay,
Yeah.
they pay 50% of the contract and the county covers the other 50%. A couple years ago, they switched the school resource officers to be the same. The school resource officers were covered 100% by the schools. So now the schools are only paying 50% and county covers the other 50%. However, the fund has a pretty healthy balance.
Okay.
So we don't need to contribute any more to it right now. Eventually, it will catch back up and the county will have to fund those at 100%, but we don't need to
We don't have to
next
now.
year.
And just for discussion purposes, just go down through these things and just tell us real quick what is adequately funded at this time, just to reiterate
That
that.
would be good.
Well, I will say, outside of these positions,
Everything else is.
In all those.
the administration has recommended everything is adequately funded. There is nothing that can't fund and operate. And just, for instance, municipal clerk additional postage, they did get a supplemental this year because they needed additional postage on, they're sending out more certified mail, I
Certified
think was
mail.
the issue.
Yeah.
So that, that could be something that potentially could be needed depending on the level of cases and juveniles, they've put through several, between the court and detention, most of it's court though, they have put several budget transfers and even a couple of supplementals for the additional psychiatrist, supervised visitation and interpreters are another large expense. And we're seeing that across the board at all the courts. And unfortunately, it is what it is, depending on what cases are coming through. And it's just right now that is those things are cutting into the budget a lot, which they have to be paid.
Okay.
So BCC program administrator, yes. Facilities additional maintenance staff, 2. I think that's reasonable. Prosecutor civil attorney is a yes for me. Sheriff road patrol and overtime. Tell me what's the details on that.
So that's two, I was telling you, that's broken down between court services and road patrol. So they have had required to have additional overtime due to some laws and codes that keep happening. The court services is just over $15,000 with fringes.
That's you.
That one has, they don't have many vacancies ever at court services. So that one, it's harder to transfer from. The road patrol though, there typically are always vacancies. So what happens when the overtime is needed, we just do a budget transfer from their salaries. The court service though, it'll be harder on that side since there aren't vacancies to do budget transfers.
Mhm.
And the court services, they're requesting additional overtime due to the amount of, they're having to make more runs to the hospital than they used to.
Okay. I'm okay with that one. Juvenile court detention, okay with that one. Postage at the Muni clerk. Talk about prosecutor additional expenses.
It's hard. They have 5 different general fund orgs. It's their expenses, their everyday expenses. They're funded to be able to run currently. I mean, they have enough funding to support, their budget can support their expenses right now.
I'm a no on that one since we picked up their
Yeah,
civil,
yeah. I get you.
And that does it for me. And then just to talk real quick on the capital request for BCC consideration, the domestic relations versus the probate. One is what we have already designed and is a path forward to finish that project. The other one is going back and redesigning a whole different part of that particular building. Talk about that just for a
Yeah,
second.
so we've already, there's $150,000 in the capital budget to finish that project in probate.
Okay, when you talk about that, of these two, which one does that apply to?
That would apply to juvenile court's request previously to renovate the old juvenile court space for probate.
Okay.
And so there's $150,000 in the budget for that to happen. So the additional request here is for the one courtroom,
There's,
which is nearer to domestic court.
it's a 2-part, this is almost a 2-part. The first one is the courtroom.
Yeah.
You know, what to do with the courtroom. The second part, even without the courtroom consideration, probate would like to do an additional renovation on that
Of the
space.
entire probate space or
Which
the
is-
old juvenile court space again. So getting a new architect.
We had an architect.
So
There was a
number
design
2 on this list is that one. We don't really have a cost for that.
Well, the request, I don't have, this is just from the request from juvenile. So these are not architect estimates or anything, but it's a total of $570,000. We do have $150,000.
That would be
in
the
plan
second one here that's listed.
to redesign the juvenile, the
The
probate.
first one that's listed, that's what that 150,000 is already there
already
for to do, right?
The
No,
150
so the 150,000 was the original design to renovate the old juvenile court space for probate.
Okay.
Because that was a separate issue. Okay, so we haven't finished that yet. The request here is for juvenile court then to hire another architect to redo that entire space again. And then the domestic court is for just doing a small renovation to one of the courtrooms. I think it's for furniture, just in case furniture was removed, for the use of that one courtroom.
was
But the
20,000.
phase 3 scope of the juvenile court renovation doesn't deal with either one of these.
Does not. It's not part of
So
what's
this is
being
an
renovated.
addition both ways.
Yeah.
One is a over $500,000 renovation. The other one is how much?
It's just for a request for, I think, furniture in case the furniture was removed, maybe
$20,000 in
16
case
to
the
20.
courtroom needs retrofit.
Right,
For domestic court though, correct?
correct. It's the one courtroom in the existing or the old juvenile court space,
Mhm.
which would
Right.
be the new probate space, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
All right, that one, just for clarification, that's in desperate need right now. Domestic Relations Court needs a courtroom space. And the second one, we haven't even finished that building yet, and we're already talking about renovation. I say, let's just get this building finished. You know, I mean, I see there's issues there when I walk through. I think there's a lot of wasted space, but I don't think we need to put any more changes into that building till we get this one finished.
So
And then-
so the consideration
Right.
would be for the first one.
Right.
Yeah, for Domestic Relations Court, furniture, whatever needs to be, or changing that, updating that whole courtroom space for them, but to be used by Domestic Relations Court.
Okay.
That's a restriction I'd
Now,
like to put
in the
on
new
that.
juvenile court, we have 5 courtrooms, brand new,
Correct,
right?
correct.
Okay.
And just to clarify some of the needs, like when they're saying they need space for keeping documents and that, I understand some of those old books and that you can't move, but they are working very diligently with our records department and figuring out how to do that retention and making sure that a lot of those documents now are scanned instead of holding all the paperwork there to kind of help give that space. So, I mean, I see when you walk down that huge connection hall, like, oh my gosh, all that wasted space, but let's get the thing finished.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we've been a long time on that building.
Okay.
All right.
You have everything you need?
Mr. Bachelor?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so just for clarification, I'm going to go back. I'm going to add 4.25% for salary actions, which will be 3% salary merit and 1.25% across the board.
Right.
The BCC program administrator, 2 facility maintenance staff, a prosecutor civil attorney, the sheriff's overtime, juvenile court, 55,000 for this psychiatrist appointments, and municipal clerk additional postage.
Great.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Okay.
Thanks,
I'll
Emily.
be back.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. We will move to the next item on the agenda. That is a presentation from Kevin Fink concerning 2025 liability insurance. Hi, Kevin. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Do I correctly understand that the copy of the abbreviated renewal packet's been distributed to everyone? Thanks.
Do we have
Yes,
one?
it has.
It has.
It's this one.
Mhm.
Just like
Yep.
this.
Bless you.
Sorry.
As an early Christmas gift, I'll spare you going through 50 pages that I go through with the administration.
And a reduction, right?
Pardon me.
And a reduction that didn't work. Never mind.
And a dog, Kevin. And a dog, so.
In another few years, I just lost one. I'm not ready to go through the heartache again. But if you'll turn to the second page, just want to hit the highlights here. This is after spending some time on a Teams meeting with the administration, just highlights of the recommended renewal program. First, it's a list of the insurance companies, the various coverages, the insurance companies that provide them, and importantly, what their AM Best ratings are, which is the rating service that we use to evaluate the, financial claims paying ability of the insurance company. You're buying a promise. You want to make sure that they have the financial wherewithal to honor it should the need arise. And you'll notice they're all rated A or higher, and they're the highest financial size category of 15. Part of our job involves, shopping the marketplace when it's appropriate. We try to manage that process, in the way that we find to be most effective to get the best results for you. It is counterintuitive to have it out there every single year. Unlike other products, this is one where, in a way, you have to prove to the seller why you are going to be a good client to them. But we had some changes that I'll get into here, but we had marketed the property back in 2019. We did it again for this year. We had marketed the liability a couple of times in the past. We think we have the current best option for you with your current provider. The cyber market has been quite volatile, so that was marketed more often. You'll be pleased with what happened with the renewal for that this year. When it's all said and done, though, your costs on hard costs are up about 9% over what they were at the beginning of last year. Now, that's not an entirely fair comparison. If you have one house now, and then you buy a second house, or you put an addition on that's, the same size. I got to make this simple so I can do the math up here this early. If you got a $10 million building for $10,000 in premium, and now you have a $20 million, portfolio of buildings for $20,000 in premium, sure, the price has doubled, but so has your risk exposure basis. So the rate is effectively the same. So if I look at, what's happened with the county, and you are a fast growing county and adding a ton of inventory to your portfolio. But when I look at it on that basis, I would say your effective rate change is actually only about 5%, which I would deem to be better than the marketplace average in the environment we're in right now. Again, this is not an exact science, but I think it's a reasonable methodology, and I could go through the math that I put into it to calculate it. I mean, the property's fairly simple. You added 38 million in values, but budgeted expenditures are up about 10%, payroll 6%, 5% increase in your lawn, sheriff deputy, correction officers. If you take a weighted average of all those items, and if you look at that little table at the bottom of that page, I've got each line of coverage. I've got the estimated equivalent renewal at $1,188,000 and the actual renewal at $1,243,000. It's about a 54.6 difference in year-over-year costs, which, if there were no other changes, I would say in this marketplace, that's a favorable renewal. You're doing better than the average bear. Now, the sad news is on the next page. If you turn on the Weather Channel, if you watch the news, most property underwriters are afraid to turn on the Weather Channel anymore. The United States, forget about the hurricanes down in Florida. The United States has suffered 60 billion plus in convective storm, which is a fancy way to say severe thunderstorms in the past year. They're exceeding the losses that we're seeing from some of the hurricane events when you take them together in aggregate. And the insurance companies, they buy insurance from reinsurance companies. Well, they are increasing their attachments, their cost of capital is going up, and they're pushing more of the risk back onto insurance buyers. And that's why we marketed the property this year, because I was not real pleased that they're increasing the wind and hail deductible for the county to $250,000 per occurrence. And they put a water damage deductible. You probably remember the big freeze we had 2 years ago over the Christmas holidays. There's been a lot of that going on. That's typically water damage. So they're trying to pass this extra risk on so that, if you're not doing a good job in winterizing your properties or making sure the heat's on, you're going to pay a bigger portion of the resulting loss. If you look at the other little table, now this isn't actually fair, and it's not entirely, but I do think it's just to get an idea from a relativity standpoint. And again, I'm guessing here, but just say the typical homeowner has $1,000 property deductible. Their house is insured for $300,000. Well, that's 0.333% of the value of the house. If I took 0.33% of the value of the county's property portfolio, you'd have over a $2 million deductible. So it's not entirely fair, but I just think it gives a little bit of perspective for size and scope. I will end with, a little bit happier. The cyber deductible's down, and we were able to increase the social engineering sublimit in spite of the recent loss. So you ask why? Again, 8 years of outsized catastrophe losses: tornadoes, hurricanes, convective storm, wildfire, riots, the deep freezes. Southern Indiana and Southwest Ohio are recategorized by insurance company models as being moderate wind hail zones now. They used to be low wind hail zones, but weather patterns are changing and shifting. And on the liability side, it's just social inflation. Claim costs are up due to higher litigation, increased litigation, increased awards. There's more plaintiff attorney involvement in claims that drives up the cost. And the plaintiff's bar has become pretty adept at tapping into the reptile brain and getting juries to make awards to plaintiffs that far exceed the true economic damages or any other rational amount. And then if you look at all the different businesses that the county's involved in, we've got some higher risk operations, especially law enforcement, and that's becoming. Matter of fact, the CCO just put out a thing where someone's trying to put a ballot initiative to change the Constitution to do away with qualified immunity, sovereign immunity, and prosecutorial immunity. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I hope it doesn't, but
they cleared the way for signatures to be collected.
I don't think the public has an idea of the burden that's going to put on the public treasury. There may be some things that could be modified, but to change it like that, I think is a mistake. But these are all the factors that are coming into play. Now, inflation itself, yes, inflation subsided somewhat, but it's still problematic. And as you know, you have to market any bonds that you're holding. Now, you don't actually have a realized loss if you don't sell them, But in a rising rate environment, when you mark to market, well, insurance companies, for the regulatory agencies, they still have to hold a certain amount of capital on hand to meet capital adequacy requirements. So even if they're doing good on one side with their rising rates and doing better on profit, their balance sheet is suffering because of, the mark to market and the capital requirements and the cost of capital that goes up for them. And in the end, I'd say it's lack of competition. There's just fewer insurance companies that are willing to write public entity business, and that means less competition for both, coverage provided and the cost of that coverage.
And that's been pretty much the case since 9/11. Since 9/11 actually occurred, insurance companies have went out of business, insurance companies have consolidated, and people don't realize that when they get quotes for everything from car insurance to home insurance, that it really, even though the company name might show a difference, the actual underwriter company that owns that is one of few.
Yeah, I say, any of you that have had your homeowners auto renewed have probably seen what's happened with your own personal insurance. It's an unpleasant environment. What's different, 9/11 was that was an insured event. A lot of that was uninsured loss, but it was an economic event. I have been in this business 35 years. I have never delivered bad news 6 years in a row until, this is unprecedented. Most hard markets like this don't last more than 12 to 24 months, with probably 18 being the average before, the cycle works itself out. Now, it's not as bad as it has been, but it's, and anyone that says they know what the future is doesn't know what they're talking about.
Agree.
But in any event, if you have to go to Chicago and there's only 2 airlines flying to Chicago out of Cincinnati, you don't have a choice if you have to go to Chicago. And that's kind of where we were with the deductible situation. I am looking at what's called a buy down option. I was going to review that with the administration afterwards. It's something they can share with you if you want to take action on it, if you feel like this is more risk assumption than you're comfortable with. But
It's definitely something to look at.
yeah, but that's where we are on that. Turn to the third page. Again, this is where I save you about 30, 40 pages of information. This is just a very quick overview of the, limits of insurance and the deductibles that apply to the different lines of coverage, with the exception of what I went over in the property with the wind and hail and the water damage. It's effectively unchanged, other than the reduction on the cyber side. And the balance of it, which I didn't plan, that's just detail behind various differences for options that I worked on and reviewed with the administration, just in arriving at the recommended program for the county. So unless you have any questions, I would ask that you proceed with approving the resolution to approve the county's insurance program. Like I said, it's in looking at it relative to the environment we're in, it's not a bad renewal. I wish I could come here and tell you, oh, we've got more and it costs less, but
You're not going to do it, are you?
I'm good, but I'm not. I can get the difficult done. The impossible takes me more time. So,
One of the things that we do always have a question about is we always have a question about bonding requirements for elected officials.
as soon as this is approved, I am going to put a letter together with a certificate of insurance. I understand the board already passed a resolution where they said that employee dishonesty, including faithful performance, will satisfy. So if that understanding that's still in place, as soon as this is approved, I'll get that letter to Debbie, Tom, and Emily, and be able to proceed with any newly elected officials that have bonds.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy
Thank
New
you.
Year.
You too. You too. Gail, do we have a resolution later in the?
Actually, we do have it on the non-consent agenda.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. No problem. Thank you.
I mean, you can pull it up if you'd like.
Oh, no, that's okay. We'll
Okay.
handle it on the.
All right.
Makes it easy. Okay. We have a tabled item that we need to discuss.
Yeah, so the board tabled the Port Authority agreement for broadband expansion at our last meeting. So we'll have to bring that off the table, then I'll turn it over to Chris McClintock.
Okay, so we would like to,
Need a motion?
we just need a motion to remove the tabled item that we had previously and bring it back out onto the table so we can discuss this Port Authority agreement for broadband installation.
Thank you.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Last week you were not here.
Okay, so can I still?
You can still
I
vote on
bring
it.
it up.
Mhm.
Then I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes, we are back out on the table, Chris.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are
Good
you?
morning.
Well, you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
So this was originally on the agenda, I believe, in late November. And we had some questions that still needed to get answered. We've hammered all that out. So just as a reminder, this is a subrecipient agreement with the Clermont County Port Authority to construct broadband fiber network that would connect all of the county campuses. We had a feasibility study done in 2023. It recommended we build a middle mile throughout the entire county so that we could provide service to all the unserved and underserved populations within the county. However, since that time, the state of Ohio has put about $80 million worth of their ARPA money, along with Altafiber, they're bringing $50 million to the table, and Altafiber is bringing $80 million to the table to provide that. So as part of that project was a connection of all the county facilities through what we call this campus loop. And the consultant and the Port Authority worked over the summer to do a high level design of exactly how that would look. And what the actual design would be a loop, an underground fiber network that would connect all of our facilities. We have our consultant on a Zoom call virtually. We have Chris Davis, which is our Information Services Department Director, on here as well if you had any technical questions. But generally, the project hasn't changed since I've brought it to you throughout the updates throughout the end of this year. So what we're asking for is a recommendation to authorize David L. Painter, President of the Board, or in his absence, any other member of the Board of County Commissioners to execute the subrecipient agreement between the Board of Commissioners and the Clermont County Port Authority in the amount not to exceed $4.5 million from funds received as part of the American Rescue Plan Act relative to the expansion of broadband on Clermont County campuses.
Okay.
And I'm happy to answer any questions. And as I said, we have the experts here as well.
So one of the things, Chris, just to get it out here on the table, just to kind of get an overview on is currently our campuses are connected, but everybody has talked about they're kind of connected by kind of 3 different methods, or, can we just get kind of, tell us what the current status of that is right now?
Sure. And I can talk about the basic infrastructure. Really, we're like any other business company resident. We buy our fiber access through Altafiber. They control the lines, they control access, they control the speeds. And then all of our buildings have various technology that and I'll let Chris talk about the terminology for that. But
See, you got into that basic technology.
yeah, exactly. And I'm just, there's buttons and things that the internet comes into, and then it goes to our computer. So I'll let Mr. Davis talk about that more specifically.
He looks like Santa Claus.
Mr. Davis, you want to chime in? You can't hear us?
Great.
You're muted.
He's the one in charge of
You
this?
muted?
I love it.
Is it a bad internet connection?
Yeah. See, this is the reason why.
That's why we need
This is
it.
it.
Oh, this is funny.
I don't know if you can't hear us.
I think he can hear us. We can't hear him.
You're muted, Chris.
You're muted.
What do we got on our end? It's not
Maybe we have to unmute him from here.
I think, yeah, because he's trying to get on his cell phone too. Mm.
There we go.
There we go.
All right.
Okay.
There you are.
Hi, Chris.
Good morning.
Morning.
So to answer your question, how the county is connected right now, we have the 3 campuses. Each campus has an internet connection to that campus. And then the connections between campuses are served up through multiplier. They're a 1 gig connection, single point, between each one. There's really no redundancy. If one of those lines are cut, and then that campus is segregated until we get that line fixed. The equipment would not change. The connectivity will change on the way the fiber is connected to each campus. And with a loop, we get that redundancy. So, if the Bauer to Filliger campus was severed, Bauer could still get to Filliger by going down through Batavia and then over. So this helps us to have, a more redundant system. But it's fairly simple in the way it's set up. As long as we have those lines, we're good, but we are in the hands of Alta Fiber as far as the speed between the campuses. So by putting this loop in, it allows us to jump speeds from 1 gig to 10 gig and into the future beyond that. Allows us to do some more things with our data throughput, which is starting to clog up that 1 gig pipe. So.
Great.
So in real technical talk, this is a good thing.
Yes, definitely it is, because, we've already been, even before this project came up, we were already looking into what the options were to increase that bandwidth and to increase the redundancy between, so that we can continue to give the services to our employees and our citizens without interruption. So yeah, this is definitely a good thing.
And just for discussion purposes, when people are talking about broadband across America and all the money that through ARPA that was made available for that, they had particular minimums that they required. If you were going to spend that money to upgrade broadband, it had to be a particular minimum. One of the things that they really never talked about is that, the speed of broadband and speed of your computers at home today will never be slower than it is today. Tomorrow it'll be a little faster. And a year from now, it'll be a little faster than that. And that's one of the things with, being able to get a bandwidth that's 10 gigs instead of 1 gig is that whatever it throws at you in the future, and obviously we don't know what the future is going to look like in 30, 40, 50 years, but this is your best technology available to connect those campuses so that you don't have to worry about that as far in the future as we know right now.
Correct. And it'll allow us to provide a high level of service to our customers, our residents, our businesses, when they come in to pay their taxes, or they're using our job and family services computers and all of that. So
and in the future, everybody will want more convenience when it comes to dealing with the county, paying fees, and getting the information that they want. So it makes perfect sense. Okay. Any other questions, board? Thing you want to know? You got the experts right here. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. So I would, we have tabled the item and brought it out here on the board. And so I know Chris has read it, but I'll read it again. It's a recommendation to authorize David L. Painter of the board, or in his absence, any member of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute the subsipient agreement between the Board of County Commissioners and the Clermont County Port Authority in an amount not to exceed $4.5 million from funds received as part of the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, related to expansion of broadband on the county campuses. Do I have a motion for approval?
Make the motion.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any further conversation or questions? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Okay. And then I'll pull one up real quick. I understand we're going to have a presentation, or a presentation is available through for the Filliger campus. Is that
phase
correct?
one. So
Yeah.
our engineer here, Mr. Evans, is going to show us where we're at and give us the good news today. Right, Jeremy? Good.
All right,
Yeah, I just want to give a quick update. We had a lot of presentations this morning. Mine won't take too long. You remember I came in before construction started. We talked about the needs of the project and the plan to move forward. Gave an update shortly after bidding to talk about the award and the recommendations there. I know you've had updates throughout from Chris and Wade and staff. So this is kind of just the final bookend, I guess you would say, on that project. Just kind of want to give the overview of what this looks like. Are you doing slides for me? Thank you. All right, you can go ahead and go to the next one then. So that first, I guess I should have mentioned the first slide was just kind of an overview of both sides of the campus, but yeah, there you go. So the left picture is the left half of the campus, if you will. That is the fleet maintenance building and the fuel pumps, and we'll take a closer look at all these here in a second. On the right picture is the right half of the campus, which is the engineer's operation. So you can go on to the next, yeah. So this is a closer look at our main building. Now that it's completed, the right in the very front, the blue facade with the lower roof, that's kind of our office space. Where we have offices, obviously the meeting rooms, restrooms, operating, type stuff. The building on the left side is the mechanics bay. And again, we'll show some closer pictures of each of these. The large building there in the middle is the main truck barn. And in the back, you can see our cold storage, our unconditioned space, those storage buildings. You can go to the next one for me. Thank you. So there's a closer look at the inside of the truck barn. We have room for 32 trucks in there. So all of our dump trucks that are on this campus, plus some other equipment, be inside conditioned space. So that's obviously a huge upgrade. One of the most obvious upgrades from old campus to new. And then obviously there's the picture of the outside. You can go to the next one for me. Here's the mechanics bay. Again, the picture from the outside, and then the end. We've got two bays with lifts. So capacity to work on multiple vehicles at once now, where we were previously just limited to one and only to certain sizes. So that's expanded our abilities to operate and work on some of our own equipment. Salt barn. So the center picture is kind of that front view, the right-hand side of the building. In the right-hand picture, we have some bulk bins that are under covered space. So asphalt, topsoil, gravel, those kind of things that would be covered and kept dry. Picture on the left is some salt that we started moving over. Actually, because of timing, we're going to continue to operate from a salt standpoint out of the old salt barn. So each snow event will load trucks in the old place. Whatever we don't utilize in that particular event, then we'll unload here. And so rather than just moving it all and using it, we'll kind of move it as we go. Obviously, at the end of the season, if there's some that needs to be moved, we'll move that over. But so gotten to start filling the barn up. You're good. These are our cold storage buildings. So the insides, we have tractors, all the stuff that used to sit outside, a lot of it, attachments for skid steers, all those kind of tools and things. I don't have pictures of the inside right now, but the outside, under that covered overhang, we've got space for guardrail, signposts, guardrail posts. Some of the equipment that used to sit outside can still sit outside, but then I'll be covered. So that's that space. You can go to the next one for me there, David. And then finally, this is the fleet maintenance garage. And then the fuel pump. So this is not just, I know it gets talked about as the engineers campus a lot. This is not just an engineers campus though. It's countywide. Obviously fleet services a lot of different buildings. And then everybody who uses the fuel pumps will eventually, once we get everything kind of up and running, eventually switch from fueling at Fiddler over here to the new location. We've just started moving in the past couple of weeks, so try to get the essentials first to get operational, and then slowly moving over some other things and getting organized as we go. I believe Fleet Maintenance has recently started moving some of their things as well. We will work with you all to schedule a ribbon cutting and an open house at some point so we can take a closer look and so everybody can see. Probably be after the first of the year, obviously. Hopefully it doesn't snow on that particular day. Otherwise, things might be kind of busy on that campus. But we can work around those things.
Well, we've got some plows over there that can move that off that campus.
Yeah, we could. Yes, right. Again, I just want to thank you guys for seeing this project to this point. This is a project that's been talked about for at least the past 30 years among past county engineers, county commissioners, administrators. Been a long time coming. I don't think the need was ever really debated. It was the path forward, and there was really no consensus. So I appreciate that we finally have reached a consensus and found a path forward to make this happen. I know my guys have already reached out. There's the obvious improvements, the inside storage and things, but there's little things that you don't think about that they've started to recognize now that they've been there, like the fact that they have lockers now. So the back of their car is not full of all of their boots and coats and, all those kind of things. You don't think about that stuff, but they really appreciate it. They wanted me to share their appreciation as well. So they're starting to realize, just in the past couple of weeks, some of those little things we didn't really think about. So,
And give a shout out to who did the architect work on it and who did the construction.
sure. Garmin Miller is our architect on this phase, and then Monarch, the contractor. Of course, they had multiple subs working on those. But yeah, it's been good. It's been a good process. I know Garmin Miller is still working on future phases, campus improvements. So we'll see them and see that name up again. And then, of course, who knows who may bid on those. We may see Monarch again in the future too. But
And cost on this side of the campus was right.
I think I don't have the total number. I think we finished just under 19 million, if I'm not mistaken. I think the bid came in around 18 and a half. Of course, there are some changes that were brought to the board throughout, but. Yeah.
And this project was part of the capital plan that Clermont County had. There was no debt issued for this project. This project was paid with money that had been held for that purpose and budgeted correctly through the years so that the money was available to do it. And one of the things I'm always interested, keeping heavy equipment under cover is, that has everything to do with its longevity. So that's a great thing to have all of those trucks. But the thing that I always thought about was the fact that if you were out spreading salt on Clermont County roads and you got caught up in some ice and you couldn't get unloaded that night, and then that salt froze in the truck.
Yeah.
Just tell folks here what you had to do to get it out of the truck.
Sure. Yeah. And that was one of my previous presentations. I shared a photo of that. Yeah. So we used to preload our trucks. We still do. And then park them. And before they were in a 3-sided covered, so not really inside. And occasionally that would freeze overnight. And so we would have to beat it out of there basically with an excavator, drag it out, scrape it out the best we could, reload, and then get back out, out to work.
Lose a lot of it.
Just
So
having,
now if he's partially loaded, he can come right into that heated area.
yes,
He can get out of the truck, get some snooze, get right back in the truck, reload, go right out again.
yes, exactly. It would be a huge benefit. Of course.
And that was one of the things that too I wanted to bring up was the heated facility too,
Yes.
even when they're working and maintenance, et cetera.
Yep.
And to further let's talk about the material that's on the salt barn. Let's talk about that. What's the longevity of that? And
So I don't remember the name of the product, but we did treat the concrete before we brought
Okay,
salt in. And so it's an inhibitor, I guess, would be the right term. Obviously, salt is detrimental over time, but we've done the best that we can to protect that as long as we can. When it has reached its useful life, obviously we can pull that out, or at the end of the season when it's empty, we can wash and then retreat that if we need to. But we did the inside and then the outside space. On the left side of the barn is where our brine solution, beet heat, some of the stuff that we use will be out there. So we treated that area as well.
And what about the canopy over it, though, that canvas? Do we know what that, or just a kind of ballpark of what the life on that would be?
Yeah, so I think the expected life on the all of the canopy structures, I think it was around 15 years, if I'm not mistaken. There is some yearly maintenance that needs to be done. If there are repairs that need to be made, they can come out and patch and make those repairs. So, obviously it's a difference between this and metal, but there was a different cost up front.
Sure.
And so we weighed those pros and cons early on, and this is the path forward that we chose.
Great.
Yep.
What a wonderful facility.
It is. It's great. Thank you again. So.
And just coming off the CCAO conference, there are many people from CEAO, the County Engineers Association, that wish they had a facility like that. They really loved it. So.
Yes, for sure. I was thrilled to be able to share pictures while we were up there. So yes, thank you.
You
Yep.
rubbed it in a little bit.
He
is
did.
that
Just a
what
little,
you're saying?
just a little. Yes.
He did.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thank you.
Thanks, Suki, for coming in too and all you're doing. Yeah, looks great. Thank you.
And so we can take care of that. I'd like to, I need a motion to add the Clermont County recommendation and authorize Tom Eigel to execute a certificate of substantial completion for the Filliger campus. Do you have a
I'll make
motion
that
to add?
motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes, and now I'd ask for a motion for recommendation to authorize Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to execute the certificate substantial completion for the Filliger Campus Improvement Phase 1 project with Monarch Construction Company located at 1654 Sherman Avenue, P.O. Box 12249, Cincinnati, Ohio 45212-0249. Do I have a motion?
I will make that motion.
I will second.
Motion and second. Open up for discussion. Jeremy, are there anything on this project you're waiting for that they haven't gotten to you yet?
I think there are some odds and ends still that are being cleaned up. Yes, substantially.
Right.
Working through the final change order items.
And just for those in attendance, substantial completion means that you've reached a point in a facility where there's nothing there outstanding that would keep you from using it. And you see that he's moving in. That doesn't mean if there's one item that's left out there, like a new refrigerator or something, and you haven't received it yet, that you can't receive it after substantial completion.
And
You
it
bet.
was the absolute cleanest construction site I think I've ever seen.
They did a good job.
They did
Yep.
a great job.
And fast.
Yes.
It went up so fast.
Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Thank
And you're free to stay the rest of the meeting. I know, it's a lot of exciting things, but thank you. Thanks for being here today. Anything else we need to move up, Tom? Or we move on?
Yeah, we can move on.
We will move to item number D, public participation. Is there anyone here that would like to participate from the public this morning? Okay, we have one. So we have reached public participation. During this time, the board does not answer questions or engage in debate. No member of the public may comment about a matter that is not within the purview of Clermont County Commissioners' responsibilities. The commissioners are not expected to comment on matters brought to the board at this time. Each speaker will speak once. We'll be recognized by the board president before speaking. In accordance with the board's rules, your comments are limited to 5 minutes and the whole session is listened to 30. You are free to take the podium. Tell us who you are and where you live.
Meeting. I learned a lot. Deanna Smith, 4231 Edinburgh Drive, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45245. Learned a lot. Am I ready?
Sure, go ahead.
Train just left the station. I am so sorry. Today is unfortunate timing for me because what I've got prepared to talk about, I'm looking for ways every day to make something better at the shelter. We're not going to rebuild this overnight. I am happy to hear that we have some new employees over there. That's huge to me. That's a big step. We've got a lower population of dogs. What I had planned to talk about today, and I still will, is Mr. Price. And I hope that you guys see everything we're seeing and it's being published out on social media. Social media has turned into a wildfire about this shelter. And believe half of what you read out there, because if you go to the source, you're going to see that improvements are there, but it's just going to take some time. Don't know if we're still looking for bids, but my concern is this shelter right now. Alex Price, today is the first time I have ever seen him in person. I didn't even know that was him when he came in with the dog. But he has a degree from Hocking College. I don't know if he's got a degree. He studied wildlife and fisheries there. That is not rescue. That is animals. That is hands-off animals. Rescue is hands-on, gaining their trust and all this. Wildlife, that is not what they're taught. They're taught to try to help wildlife, grow wildlife, but you don't want animals in the wildlife trusting humans. So I already talked to you guys about the situation with Roger Vogel. If you watched the entire video, I don't need to go through that whole thing again. But Alex chose to waste our resources. He was not in imminent danger. In fact, Roger was retreating. That's one. Megan Dashley. If you saw the video of her getting caught with She was back with a dog she wasn't supposed to be with. And she was wrong. She was feeding it treats or whatever. But Alex came in there and it was a gotcha moment. It was like a big sibling. I caught you. I'm telling mom and dad. And that's the first thing he said was, Angie, I'm telling Angie, you're not allowed to film back here. And she's probably not. I'm not condoning what she did. I'm saying he's supposed to be a leader there. It's not a gotcha moment. If you catch somebody doing wrong, it's an educational moment. And I hope that's what this is for him. Because I do believe he's an asset. I do believe he has a job over there. I believe he's got a lot of power hungry in him. And that's not conducive. Mr. Painter, you and I had a discussion, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this here. But we have a similar background in liability and insurance and claims. Alex is going to cost this county money if he is not redirected and re-educated. That's what he needs is training. He needs to be sent somewhere for leadership training. It's not gotcha moments. It's not I'm telling on you. It's none of those things. On November 20th, we had a meeting here. I spoke. I mentioned Alex, and I think the Roger Vogel situation, and I think somebody else did. The volunteers knew that Alex was upset when they got there, and he went into his power mode. And he started through the speakers playing his curriculum for the police academy. Nobody wants to hear that. No, you're in a place, the dogs, I don't know that the dogs care what you play for them, but it's certainly more appropriate to have Christmas music or something, not the curriculum. And I wouldn't go to my job and play my extra credit curriculum or whatever there. He needs redirected. I have nothing against him personally, but when you look at all these things, he is there for power and he needs to be reined in. Power used correctly is a great thing, and that he has that confidence is great, but it needs redirected. And I didn't get to half of this because I'm busy building buildings and everything else over here in this seat. But I appreciate your all's time. It simply is to bring awareness. That's all I'm trying to do, not beat up on Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak during public participation? I'd like to speak just for a second. We have most of the time that we have public participation, obviously we don't comment on things that are said and we really don't place this out here, but it seems that we've kind of gotten off on the wrong foot here, and a lot of people really aren't educated on what it takes to run an animal shelter in this state and what the BCC is really responsible for. So I want to make sure that you totally understand by Ohio Revised Code, when you run an animal shelter, this board right here is responsible for everything that goes on at that animal shelter. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter who's running the animal shelter. It doesn't matter if it's a volunteer. It doesn't matter if it's an employee on the inside of the facility. It all comes back to the law, and the law is what dictates what we're allowed to do at an animal shelter. We appreciate the volunteers a ton, and I do, but volunteers don't run the shelter. They don't have the responsibility for the shelter. Volunteers are there so that when the director of the shelter and the staff of the shelter ask them to do a specific task, that's their task. If they don't want to do that task for a particular day, then it's okay to say, that's the task I have. Please come back on another day. But I want to make sure that folks fully understand that no one else has the responsibility of that. And we give that responsibility to our kennel director, which is Angie, and to the staff over there. One of the other things that comes up is people make a complaint against one of the staff, and then they want to know how that complaint is handled. So I want to make sure that you know how that's handled. That's handled internally at our HR. You don't get to be part of that. That's not part of the process. The process is they're a county employee and they're protected. If somebody wants to know something, they can request a record. of that. And then if those records need to be redacted or they need to be provided, we will provide them in a timely manner. But I just want to make sure that we all understand each other. I would encourage anybody to pull the Ohio Revised Code. Some things that have been said in public participation here is that counties don't have animal shelters. Almost every county in this state has an animal shelter, and almost every county has a humane society. Okay. Many counties do not contract their animal shelter to a humane society. They work in conjunction with the humane society. Some do. Some invoke what's called 1717, the Ohio Revised Code, and they give those responsibilities to the humane society. But that doesn't mean that the Clermont County commissioners can relinquish that requirement per the law. They cannot. They're still responsible. So in other words, regardless of who we bring in to run this shelter, if that's the decision that we make, and in this meeting, we're going to pursue a request for a proposal for the management of that shelter and see what kind of proposals that we get in from agencies that might want to manage our shelter for us. And I have no reservation in that whatsoever. But what I want to make sure is no matter who comes in there, this board is responsible for their actions and for how they do that. So I just wanted to make sure we absolutely value, the opinion of our volunteers, but our volunteers aren't lead people at the shelter. That is not relinquished to anyone except the staff and the director and the commissioners in this board. So just to kind of set the record straight on that.
I agree, and I think I was aware of that, but I'm glad everybody else can hear it now too.
They've heard it. So that's how we're going to go forward. Make no bones about it. This board is responsible for the animal shelter, and we are going to run that animal shelter in accordance with law, and we always have. And there'll be no exception to that. We are going to let Angie give those volunteers the task that they need to perform during that day. And they are more than welcome to perform those tasks. But there will be no lead or no management volunteers associated with that shelter. I want to make sure we're clear on that, because we're not allowed to relinquish that requirement to anybody that's not an employee of this county. So thank you. So I'll close public participation and we will move on. We'll move on with item D, which is the consent agenda. Board, you've had the consent agenda. It's been provided for you. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda?
No.
Okay. Hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as provided?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. We will move on to the non-consent agenda, item number 13. Item number 13 is recommendation that the Board of Commissioners adopt Resolution 147-24 to approve payment to vendors, the total amount of $4,005,455.20 is outlined in the BCC approval invoice reports for checks dated December 11, 2024. BCC directed prepaid invoice reports and the procurement card transaction report as presented by the county auditor on 12/9/2024. And further authorizing the county auditor to issue warrants pursuant to section 319.16 of the Ohio Revised Code. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
Make that motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item number 14.
A recommendation to accept the proposal submitted by Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services Incorporated, 3737 Embassy Parkway, Suite 260, Fairlawn, Ohio, 44333, entitled Insurance Program Renewal Proposal for quotes from carriers to the purchase of property, casualty, liability, excess liability, and employee dishonesty and faithful performance of duty insurance for the County of Clermont County, Ohio, for the period of 12/31/24 through 12/31/25, at an annual premium of $1,243,228. And to further authorize David L. Painter, President of the Board of County Commissioners, and/or Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to execute any and all documents related to the renewal proposal.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 14. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I will second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran? Commissioner Painter?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Item number 15.
Morning.
Item number 15 is a recommendation to approve the request to advertise for bids for the Clermont County Animal Shelter Outdoor Kennel Extension pursuant to the plans and specification, and to authorize the clerk of the board to place a legal notice in a newspaper of general circulation on Thursday, December 19th, 2024, scheduling a non-mandatory pre-bid meeting on Monday, December 30th, 2024 at 10 a.m. local time to be held at the Clermont County Animal Shelter, 4025 Philliger Road, Batavia, with bids to be received until 2 p.m. local time on Thursday, January 9th, 2025, in the office of the Board of County Commissioners, 101 East Main Street, Batavia, 45103, where they will be publicly opened and read aloud. This notice will also be posted in Clermont County website at the link.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 15. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Further comments? Anything?
Just glad we're getting it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Be
big step.
interesting to see what's out there and what we receive back.
You bet. So we are going to bid this contract to see if one of the entities in Clermont County would give us a acceptable proposal to be able to manage the contract in accordance with the board's expectations, which.
Yeah.
Oh, this is just for the kennel expansion.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So this will be for the kennel expansion
Right.
and
In the back of the shelter.
Back the
and just talk about that for a second. I totally got off on a different subject. Obviously, you can, your emotions kind of run when you get in public participation, so just want to talk about one particular issue about this. This particular issue is there was some time ago that Nestle Purina gave a $20,000 donation to Clermont County. And that $20,000 donation was to be used for an outdoor play area. And before we got it built, volunteers stepped up and they built that outdoor play area. And so then the outdoor play area was complete and the dogs had a place to play outside. And we were really appreciative for the donors who came forward and the people that volunteered to build that outdoor play area. And so that Nestle Purina money got put into the general operations fund of the kennel, and that money was used for that purpose. Now, there was always money left over there, so that $20,000 wasn't done. Due to some inquiries from volunteers and from people on the outside, they didn't feel that that money was used correctly. We contacted Nestle Purina. I have been in contact with them on a couple of times by email and by letter. And we have made a commitment to, again, reauthorize $20,000, which will be identified as their money, to be used in this kennel extension. So I want to make sure that the $20,000 that Nestle Purina gave us never went away, was still available. We use it for its intended purpose. And instead of using it for the outdoor play area, we are going to put it into this particular kennel expansion. So there will be a separate line given to that for that $20,000. And then Nestle Purina obviously will be notified when that money is spent for that particular purpose. So just want to make sure we're absolutely clear on that and we don't lose sight of that $20,000. Now, the rest of this project will be paid out of
Capital fund.
capital funds, and capital funds are revenues that come to the county. And so this project is funded appropriately and will be built from those funds. Now, rough order of magnitude, do we know anything on this project?
It looks like 61 new outdoor kennels, so it'd be expanded out of the back. So you have the existing fenced-in area in the back where people park, the public parks,
Yep.
and that'll be expanded out another, almost double the size, Brian.
Yes, they're utilizing some of the existing space.
Okay.
Not quite as.
And what this will enable us to do is this will enable us to get more canines out of the kennel so we can do all the cleaning activities that need to be done in the kennel without the dogs being in there actually occupying the indoor kennels. So I think we have, Angie, we have 55 indoor kennels. Is that about right?
Somewhere around there.
Okay. So, and that's the swing zone for our kennel is about that 55 number. You know, that's where we fit the best. When we get over 55, then we have to go into other alternative means, getting dogs to fosters and obviously using pop-up kennels. So not something we want to do. But just want to make sure we're going to spend $60,000 and $20,000 of this is Nestle Purina's money that they donated to that purpose. So got it? We got it. All right.
The budget office is aware of that.
You bet. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So we will move on to item number 16.
Item number 16 is the recommendation to approve the request to advertise for proposals for dog kennel management for Clermont County, Ohio, pursuant to the specifications, and to authorize the clerk of the board to place a legal notice in a newspaper of general circulation on December 19th, 2024, with said proposals to be received until 2 p.m. local time on Thursday, January 9th, 2025, in the office of the Board of County Commissioners, 101 East Main Street, Batavia, where they will be publicly opened and read aloud pursuant to and in compliance with Section 30128 of the Ohio Revised Code. This notice will also be posted on Clermont County's website, clermontcountyohio.gov.
So now we're back to the other conversation. First of all, do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Now conversation. So now we're back to, this is the request for proposal to ask for bidders to give us, and they will give us their proposal of how they would operate this kennel and how they would cover all of the requirements of the Ohio Revised Code for operating a shelter. But just to be out there, we are still responsible for the operation of the shelter, you know, and so that never is relinquished from the County Board of Commissioners. So there really is no what you would call shelter for a word. They cannot shelter us from the requirements of what the law says for us to provide here. So that is where we're at. Okay. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran. Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Thank you, Angie.
And Angie, can I just ask for clarification? We don't have a PA system at the shelter.
We do not have a PA system. correct?
So the rumors that are going around that all this is on a PA system for people to hear.
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure that we didn't put in a PA system.
All of the kennel techs have headsets that they wear.
Yeah.
around, but there's no like speakers above the system. It'd be really convenient if there was.
Okay.
And so specifically, if somebody was going to listen to something that they were doing while they were doing their task, or whether that's music or that is an instruction as to them becoming a police officer, they would do that on their headset.
Their headsets, or I know they have like a portable speaker for when the inmates are there, they play some music, that kind of thing.
Well, that's okay. You can, it's
Right.
not like they're putting it so everywhere anybody can hear, but while they're working, they can plug in and have it even on their headset or even have it out loud. But okay.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all you've done, by the way.
Item number 17.
Item number 17 is the recommendation to approve the volunteer policy for the Clermont County Dog Kennel and to authorize the implementation effective upon approval.
Or do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. I'll second it. I'll put it out here on the table. Open discussion.
The only discussion and consideration I would like an additional line item or item placed on each one. I would like to have a witness signature and date for every document.
On the acknowledgement forms.
Yes, on all the acknowledgement forms, correct. Thank you.
Would you like to bring that back then with the completed? Would you
Sure.
like to bring it back with it
fixed
Bring back a motion with.
or bring back the document with that in there
Okay.
and then pass that document?
Yeah.
Would that be better?
Tom, what do you-
Do we want to bring the policy back next week for consideration
please.
with that change?
Let's, how,
So we can
Okay,
table
well,
till next week?
yeah,
or-
we'll take, but Bonnie, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to do that because I got the email at 3:46 yesterday afternoon, so I'm not prepared
Okay.
Okay.
to vote on this.
So then I'd ask for a motion to table item number 17, the recommendation to approve a volunteer policy for the dog kennel until time certain, which will be Wednesday of next week.
Okay.
Good enough?
Right.
Motion?
Motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second. Do we need to remove the other motion too, though?
Yeah, we
Or
just
not?
tabled.
No,
Good.
we just tabled.
Okay, we're good.
Okay,
Roll call?
Yep.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
yes. So we have this week to take a good look at it, make
Yes.
any revisions you want, and then move forward. That work, Angie? Okay, thank you. I'm number 18.
Recommendation to award the bid and execute a contract for the Public Defender Office Addition Project to Kramer and Feldman, 7636 Production Drive, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45237, for their lowest and best bid received on October 31st, 2024, in the amount of $317,325, with said services to commence upon issuance of a written notice to proceed from the Clermont County Facilities Management Department, with a completion date of August 31st, 2025, in compliance with the terms and conditions and contingent upon release of a required purchase order.
Board, you've heard the reading item number 18. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Anything further? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Item number 19, Water Resources. Morning, Lyle.
Morning, Waterman.
Waterman.
Item 19 is a recommendation to adopt resolution number 148-24 to determine to make improvements for the construction, operation, and maintenance of the MGS Water Treatment Plant Building Improvements Project located in Miami Township and designated as project number 6401-60244 in conformance with the detailed plans and specifications and estimates of costs and financing, and to approve the request to advertise for bids pursuant to the specs and to authorize the clerk of the board to place legal notice in a newspaper of general circulation on Thursday, December 19th, 2024, schedule a non-mandatory pre-bid meeting on Monday, January 6th, 2025 at 10 a.m. with bids to be received until 2:00 p.m. local time on Thursday, January 16th, 2025, here in the Office of the Board of County Commissioners, 101 East Main Street, Batavia, where they will be publicly opened and read aloud thereafter. And this notice will also be posted on the county's website under legal notices. The engineer's estimate on this project is $175,000, and it really consists of a roof replacement on the water treatment plant.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 19. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Anything further? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes, item 20.
Item 20 is a recommendation to adopt resolution number 149-24 to determine to make improvements for the construction, operation, and maintenance of the abandoned trunk sewer relocation project located in Goshen Township and designated as project number 6402-60213 in conformance with the detailed plans, specs, and estimates of costs and financing, and to approve the request to advertise for bids pursuant to the plans and specs, and to authorize the clerk of the board to place a legal notice in a newspaper of general circulation on Thursday, December 19th, 2024. Schedule the non-mandatory pre-bid meeting on Thursday, January 16th, 2025 at 1:00 p.m. with bids to be received until 2:00 p.m. local time on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. Here in the Office of the Board of County Commissioners, 101 East Main Street, Batavia, where it will be publicly open and read aloud. And the notice will also be posted on the county's website under legal notices. So this consists of relocating about 515 feet of 21-inch trunk sewer that is now within the stream, in the abandoned stream. We had a heavy rain event probably about a year ago. It actually washed out sections of the sewer. So this will relocate that outside the stream banks and help protect it for the future. And the engineer's estimate on that is $534,238.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 20. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I will second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran. Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I mix it up?
You got it backwards.
You're right.
I apologize. Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran, Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item number 21.
Item 21 is a recommendation to adopt resolution number 150-24 to authorize the construction of approximately 775 feet of 8-inch water main along Redbird Road in Miami Township by G&G Real Estate of NKY LLC out of Waunakee, Wisconsin, as outlined in Exhibit A, and authorize the collection and disbursement of prorated shares of the cost to construct said water main extension upon benefit from non-participants, and the original cost as outlined in Exhibit B for a period of 10 years pursuant to Section 307.73 of the Ohio Revised Code and in compliance with the rules and regulations of the Clermont County Water Resources Department. So this is something that code allows. We call it a reimbursement resolution. It's been a while since we've done one of these. What will happen is this developer is going to extend the public water main. There's properties along that route that currently do not have access to public water. If they connect within a 10-year period, they will be responsible to reimburse a prorated share. The county will collect that money from the property owner and then send a check to the original participant.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 21. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Anything further? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item 22.
Item 22 is a recommendation to award the bids and execute the contracts for contracted services to perform lawn mowing, landscape maintenance, and snow removal of Clermont County properties pursuant to the specifications for the lowest and best bids received on October 31st, 2024, effective for a period of January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2027, and by mutual agreement of the respective parties in writing exchanged not less than 30 days before the expiration of said contracts. The contracts may be extended for an additional period of 1 year upon the same terms and conditions as stated in Article 8. This is in compliance with the terms and conditions and contingent upon the adoption of the annual appropriations for fiscal year 2025 and the issuance of the required purchase orders. So this is for, we've got different contractors. We have Tyndall's Lawn and Landscape that will maintain the 23 water treatment properties. B&B Lawn and Landscaping LLC that will maintain 12 wastewater properties. Caliber Ground Maintenance will maintain the 18 properties that are managed by Facilities Maintenance on the Bauer and Batavia campuses. And then Caliber Ground Maintenance will also maintain these 2 CTC Park and Ride properties, which also includes snow removal with those.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 22. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Anything further?
Lau, you said the second last one, which is Caliber Ground Maintenance, the 3 facilities. It was Bauer and what else was that one?
The Bauer and Batavia campus.
In Batavia. Thank you. Okay. That's it.
And Lyle, just for talking purposes, these were all bid on a competitive basis, and each one of the people who competed it had the opportunity to bid on all of the projects, but we in the contract had the ability to go in and pick the ones that were most advantageous to us or made sense.
They could bid on all, or they could bid on one site, one group. But yeah, there were several options, and we did the kind of the lowest and best combined bid.
Right.
Okay.
Anything else? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Thanks, Lyle.
Commissioners, I just want to thank Lyle and his staff for overseeing getting the bid documents together.
Very much so.
So we really appreciate that. Thank you, Lyle.
Thanks, Lau.
Item number 23.
I'm back.
So item 23 is a recommendation to resolve to approve and authorize changes in the annual appropriation resolution number 181-23 for calendar year 2024. So this is some supplemental appropriations for 24's budget. We have the county hotel lodging tax, other expenses, $21,849.13, and that is just due to the tax that was collected, needs paid out. And the Board of Elections grant, other expenses, $12.91, also to close out a grant. Then we have adult detention corrections bargaining unit salary, an increase of $295,000. This is due to the approved 2020 in April 24, the bargaining unit salary. And that's what the next one is as well, for the sheriff road patrol bargaining unit salary for $165,000. Water treatment overtime needs $7,000. And then health, other expenses, non-operating, $500,000. That's putting budget in place. We are going next session, I'll have on a cash advance into the health insurance fund. It needs cash. So we will next session move the cash into there, and then 2025 hopefully recoup that.
Okay. Board, you've heard the reading of item number 23. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation? No. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item 24.
Okay, so back to the 25 appropriations. I do have just a quick updated, just to show you where we stand now. Is that okay if we do that? I printed these off too.
Thank you very much.
Oh, great. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, so now this is the proposed appropriation for 25. Earlier this morning, I've added the salary actions at 4.25%, which with fringes and everything was just over $1.4 million. Staff related was $495,000. I added the BCC program administrator, a prosecutor, civil attorney, the facilities, 2 additional maintenance staff, and then overtime for the sheriff, as well as operating costs, municipal clerk postage, and juvenile court detention. I do want to say, when we go on to the next slide, you'll see we balance we'll go back to that, but the sheriff's overtime to get us, we're talking $88 million budget. There was some rounding things. So to get us to balance the $0, the court services overtime was funded fully, and I had to reduce the additional to the road patrol overtime by somewhere around $10,000. And if they do need it, we'll pull it from their vacancies, salaries.
Okay.
Now the general fund, now this is the updated look at the general fund with all the salary actions and those stuff. There's operating subtotal increase of, the $1.9 million. If you look at that pie chart between public safety, criminal justice, and judicial, that is just under 74% of our expenses. So 3/4 of our expenses are going to the public safety of the county. So the general fund, now our proposed appropriation is exactly the revenue. We are at $0. Non-operating does have a draw due to some of those one-time cash transfer things. Overall, our general fund balance now, unrestricted at the end of 25, is looking to be at $17.76 million. Full appropriation recommendation. There were changes to anywhere where there's salaries, to the general fund, special revenue, and then as well as enterprise funds, outside agency, and internal service funds, all due to the salary actions. So our total appropriation now is $337 million. And I will say the largest draw is due to the enterprise funds with the water and sewer. However, this is budgetary, so we have to put the budget in place. The cash doesn't always come out. Those projects can take a couple of years, as we know.
And just as a question, the actual tax revenue that's included in this for sales tax, the percentage of increase that we included for this year is?
Well, so for 24, we had anticipated a slight increase, about, I think it was 2%, 2.5%. However, we did not reach it. We did surpass our 23 by like 0.2%. So the growth has definitely slowed back down. I'm holding that budget to the 24 budget. So actual, I am showing about a 2% increase, but if you look at budget to budget, we're holding it flat.
Okay.
The only revenue increase on general fund, the majority of it, there was a slight increase in the valuation of our property in the county.
Which was just certified yesterday at over $6 billion. $6 billion of property in Clermont County. That's actually appraised value. Yep. That's come up from 5.3 billion in 21 to now, I believe.
Last year was a huge, I mean, that was. the
Yeah,
largest.
huge
That
increase.
was
Yep.
all the changes too. Okay.
Well, thanks.
Evaluation.
So if you want to read item number 24, yeah.
So I have a recommendation to adopt resolution number 151-24, resolving to adopt the annual appropriations for the county of Clermont, Ohio for calendar year 2025 pursuant to and in compliance with section 5705.38 of the Ohio Revised Code, to establish the legal level of control for the 2025 annual appropriations pursuant to and in compliance with Ohio Administrative Code section 171-5-02, and to waive the limitation on payroll expenditures during the first half of the calendar year where personnel costs are charged to multiple funding sources or will be changed during the latter half of the year based on funding schedules and staffing in accordance with Ohio Revised Code section 575-46.
Or you've heard
5705-46.
the reading of item number 24. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Second,
It's been moved and second. Any further conversation, questions?
great job. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Thanks for keeping us informed.
Yes, very much so. And thank Jamie.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jane.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
I knew you did.
She's going to fit right in. No question.
Great. I do want to say, if there was a salary action, these are all linked files, and if there was a salary action missed or anything, we can always, add it in at the beginning of next year.
Good, thank you.
Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes,
Thanks.
that concludes our non-consent agenda. Are there any other items for consideration? Any? None? Okay, there we go. No additions to the agenda. So we will move to item number H. Item number H is I'm requesting a executive session pursuant to sections 121.22 G1 and 121.22 G2 and 121.22 G3 of the Ohio Revised Code to first consider the employment or compensation of a public employee or more public employees, and to second, consider the sale of property at competitive bidding or the sale of other disposition of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use if premature disclosure of the information would give an unfair, competitive, or bargaining advantage to a person whose personal private interest is adverse to the general public interest, and to confer with the prosecuting attorney for the board concerning disputes involving the board that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Make the motion?
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes, we will move to executive session. We will return and we will conduct further business. Thank you. We have returned from executive session. There were no decisions made and no actions taken. We will move on with our regular agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda at this time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We will move to item number I. Item number I was elected official discussion. I know Jessica wasn't here today. Jeremy filled in for her. Are there any other elected official discussions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then I'll move to member comments. Any member comments?
I have one.
Sure.
I would like to say congratulations, Commissioner Painter, on your election to serve as president of CCAO next week. It's quite an honor.
It's my honor to do it.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Right out on the
Thanks so
board,
much.
yes.
And we will, any other member comments?
I don't hear any.
None? It was crickets, wasn't it?
I think
It was
after that-
crickets.
It was crickets.
Angie,
today.
anything on your mind? No?
Okay.
So
Ursula?
I have one for Angie. When's that puppy coming back again?
I hope that we're gonna get that puppy adopted today.
That-
All right.
If not, we'll bring a new one. Or if we do, we'll bring a new one, but if not, we'll bring her back.
That was nice you brought it, man. That's
That
cool.
was a
That was
beautiful,
beautiful
beautiful
dog.
dog.
Yes.
It was. It really was.
I guess I could say that we,
Well, come on up.
Come on up. Tell them who you are.
Hi, I'm Ursula Miller, Communications Coordinator for the county. I just wanted to say that we got some nice coverage on the Veterans Village by the Ohio Public Media
Very nice.
Radio.
It was a good article. She.
Good.
More to come on it.
All right. Great.
bet.
Thank you.
That'll be fantastic when they break ground on it. And, I'm sure that'll come this spring, right?
Got my shovel and I got my boots all sitting there ready to turn that dirt.
Oh, I
But
know.
Ursula sent the article, and it was the interview she did with Ursula and I.
Mhm.
It turned out nice, didn't it?
Tom, were there any other topics we were going to talk about or mention today?
No, sir. I think we've covered a
Nothing
lot
that you
today.
think of? I think we covered a lot.
We have.
I think we've covered the path forward on, what we're looking at as far as the animal shelter. We had lots of discussions on that. That seems to have taken up a lot of time in recent meetings, that's for sure. One other thing we probably need to talk about, and I'll put it out here so it's definitely done in open session, is that obviously there are citizens who want to participate in public participation. And that's a great thing. They should always get a chance to participate. But one of the things that's happened in recent meetings is that participation has held up our staff who needs to be engaged in coming in here and getting the business of the board done and then getting back to what the citizens of Clermont County pay them to do. So one of the things that I have mentioned and rolled over in my mind, and I'll put it out here on the desk, is that maybe we do something different when it comes to public participation. Maybe instead of having public participation at 10 o'clock in the morning and it obviously pushing our meetings to 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we think about having a public participation meeting where we pick a particular scheduled time and we do that on some particular rotation that you might want to approve. You don't have to approve today. Don't even have to comment today. Where we do that so that when citizens come in to talk about issues that obviously are near and dear to their heart, it's a full back and forth discussion, and they have a time frame to do that. And I'll give I asked some questions while I was up at CCAO, what other counties do. Some other counties do that on every other week, and they have a particular time of the week where in their meeting or after their meeting or during their meeting. Others do it once a month, and they do it in the evening. And they have an open session where, people can come in and they give them each 3 minutes. And in that, by the way, was kind of the average, 2 to 3 minutes was the average. Only it's a much longer duration of a time. And then what that does is in your meetings that you have at 10 o'clock in the morning, it lets you get the business of the county done and get the people that work here back to doing productive work that they do. And then when you have a meeting on a different schedule, then that's pretty much dedicated to that issue. Don't know what your thoughts would be about that. Something you'd like to entertain, think about, by all means, but I at least wanted to bring it out here on the desk.
Well, we'd have to think about if you did it out of regular business hours, then you've got employees that we're going to have to pay overtime to or something to be here, unless you did it like later at 4-ish, because most people worked, what, 4:30 or 5?
So like for the first half of this year, many times, and that will be up, by the way, that'll be up to the new president when we reorganize. You know, we usually center on a schedule. First 6 months of a schedule many times has 2 meetings a week. You know, one of those meetings could be without public participation, where it was just get the business of the county done. And then the second meeting could be with public participation. That's all. That's just a thought to be
And,
thinking. And
A lot of even the townships do that, where they actually schedule business meetings.
Right.
And then don't have any public participation. The only thing I don't want to do is make it so, I want the public to come in, whether we like what people are saying or not. You know, this is their county, and I like to give that opportunity, that even if they did want to speak, I don't want to stifle any of that.
No,
you know, and I think sometimes, I think you've tried evening meetings. From what I've heard in the past, they really did not work. But, you know, I'm open to discussion. I think it's something we all need to review and think about. And before we just say, oh, let's do it. We need to
Right,
weigh
no.
everything.
Right.
And what's fair to our own staff too, of having them come at nighttime. You know, a lot of them have families and children,
Correct.
you know, also, and, you know, and they're working a full day, and then we're saying, oh, but now you have to do this. So, okay, it's good.
I mean, it's a
Food
discussion.
for thought
now.
out there that we need to think about. And
Lots of
seriously.
different counties talked about it, what they
Yeah.
do, what their president, and none of them are trying to chill anybody's First Amendment rights. They're just trying to get it scheduled where it's really more effective, and there can be some back and forth discussion. You know, we tend not to address anyone in public participation because we have limited, obviously, time frame at 10 a.m. in the morning to afternoon, and we have other meetings that come in and conflict with that. It would just be nice to have when they did come in and say that was 10 o'clock on another day, that it was kind of based for that, so that that kind of discussion and interaction could pursue. That's all.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep, something to think about.
Yep. Anything else? Well, if there's nothing else to come before this Board of County Commissioners, I would ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Well, I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting so we can get to the next one at 2:00. How's that?
I'll second.
Then moved in second. Roll call.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes, thanks so much for tuning in to the Clermont County Board of Commissioners meeting today on this beautiful day, December the 11th, with a little light snow on the ground. We will be looking for you to attend this coming Wednesday. Thanks for being here today. Thank you.